Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very important verse from a very important chapter.
今天我们来读圣典国切瓦坛一个很重要的诗节，就是就是第一篇里面很重要的一章。
Prabhupada once said that he had put everything he had to say, basically all the most important points that he wanted to communicate to the world in the first canto of the Bhagavatam.
Prabhupada 经常在说呢，他对这个世界里面所要说的一切的话呢，几乎都放在国切瓦坛里面的第一篇里面了。
So this chapter is called Divinity and Divine Service.
这一章的标题称为神性与神的服务。
Many important verses which devotee quotes all the time are from this chapter.
在这一章里面有很多重要的诗节，那奉献者经常引用里面的诗节。
Because this chapter summarizes all the most important knowledge from the Vedic literature.
在这一章里面呢，摘要了很多这是韦陀经典里面重要的精华。
Okay. So I will chant the Sanskrit. Okay. Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Ahetukya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Yato bhakti radokchaje.
Ahetukya pratiyata.
Aitukiya pratiyata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti 高的
Dharma, occupation.
活动
Yataha, by which.
经由那个
Bhakti, devotional service.
奉爱服务
Adokshaji, onto the transcendence.
向超人性
Aituki, causeless.
没有原因的
Apratiyata, unbroken.
不中断的
Yaya, by which.
由那个
Atma, the self.
自我
Suprasidati, completely satisfied.
彻底的满足
Translation. The supreme occupation, Dharma, for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self.
一文能让人为超然的至尊主做奉爱服务的职责，才是全人类最崇高的职责。达玛要想彻底满足自我，就必须毫无自私的动机，连续不断的做这样的奉爱服务。
Purport. In this statement, Sri Sutta Goswami answers the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. The sages ask him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called Pravritti Marg, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called Nivritti Marg, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence, or Brahmabhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of misery. There is no happiness at all. There is just a futile attempt to get rid of miseries, and temporary cessation of miseries is falsely called happiness. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior, but devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which lead one to eternal, blissful, and all-cognizant life, is called the superior quality of occupation. This is sometimes polluted when mixed with the inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction on the progressive path of renunciation. Renunciation or abnegation for ultimate good is certainly a better occupation than enjoyment in the diseased condition of life. Such enjoyment only aggravates the symptom of disease and increases its duration. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, meaning without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should, therefore, accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of devotional service to the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive action, or philosophical speculation. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. We have purposely denoted Dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word Dharma is that which sustains one's existence. A living being's sustenance of existence is to coordinate his activity with his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is the central pivot of living beings, and he is the all-attractive living entity or eternal forms all other living beings. Krishna is the central pivot of living beings, and he is the all-attractive living entity or eternal form amongst all other living beings or eternal forms. Each and every living being has his eternal form in the spiritual existence, and Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. Krishna is the complete whole, and everything else is his part and parcel. The relation is one of the servant and the served. It is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in the present conditioned state of material existence. That will gradually give one the clue to actual life and please him to complete satisfaction.
要指，在这段说明中，圣舒坦格sw米回答了南曼沙莱米真理里面圣人们提出的第一个问题。圣人们请他总结启示经典的类别，呈现最精华的部分，以便堕落之人或大众能更容易接受它。维达经中规定了人类两种职责，一种称为感官享乐之途径 （prabhu marg）， 另外一种称为气觉之途 （nivritti marg）。享乐之途是低等的，为至尊源头而奉献的途径是崇高的。生物的物质状态存在是真实生活的疾病状态，真实生活是灵性的存在 （Brahma Buddha）。灵性存在的生活永恒、极乐并充满知识，而物质存在短暂、虚假并充满错误，毫无快乐可言。在物质存在中，为摆脱痛苦所做的是无效的努力，只能使痛苦暂时缓和一下，而这短暂的中断就被错误地称为快乐。因此，短暂、痛苦和充满错觉的物质享乐渐进之途是低等的。但是，为至尊主做奉爱服务，能使人过着永恒、极乐和全知的生活。做奉爱服务被称为是崇高的职责，这崇高的职责有时会因为与低等的品质混合而受到污染。例如，通过做奉爱服务而获取物质的所得，无疑是气绝之途径上的障碍。最高的利益而气绝或放弃，必定比在生活的疾病状态中享乐更好。这样的享乐只会使疾病加重，延长生命的时间。所以，为至尊主做奉爱服务，必须不带丝毫的物质享乐欲望，必须保持品质的纯正。因此，人应该为至尊主做奉爱服务，以这样的形式履行高等职责。在全部过程中不夹杂任何多余的欲望，或是功利性的行为，或是哲学性的臆测。这样做本身就使人在为至尊主服务的过程中能够体验到永恒的安慰。我们有意把梵文词 Dharma 翻译成职责，因为 Dharma 一词的基本意思是维持生物生存的事物。维持生物的生存之道是按照它与至尊主 Krishna 的永恒关系，调整它的活动。Krishna 是众生的中心人物，在全体永恒存在的生物中，它是最有魅力的永恒存在的生物。在灵性存在中，每个生物都有它永恒的形象，而 Krishna 永恒地吸引着全部生物的注意力。Krishna 是完整的整体，所有一切都是它不可缺少的一部分。我们与它的关系是服务与被服务的关系，这种关系是超然的，与我们在物质存在中体验到的关系截然不同。这种服务与被服务的关系是亲近神的最恰当的形式。对这一点的领悟将随着我们做奉爱服务的进步程度而加深。所有的人都应该为至尊主做超然的爱心服务，即使现在处在物质状态的受制约状态中也不例外。奉爱服务将逐渐给人以有关真实生活的提示， 使人感到彻底的满足与喜悦。
Translation again. The supreme occupation Dharma for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self.
译文：能让人为超然的至尊主做奉爱服务的职责，才是全人类最崇高的职责。达玛，要想彻底的满足自我，就必须毫无自私的动机，而且是连续不断的这样的奉爱服务。
The Srimad Bhagavatam, this book is considered the cream of all Vedic literature.
圣典博切瓦坛呢，是被认为是所有的经典中的精华，就像这个东西的最精华的奶油的部分。
Vyasadeva, who wrote all the Vedas, had summarized the Vedas in a book called the Vedanta Sutra.
Vyasadeva 呢，把所有的委托经呢，终结称为终极委托经。
But the Vedanta Sutra is in a very, very high philosophical presentation.
但是呢，终极委托经是非常它的话题主题是非常高的哲学。
So sutras is sometimes translated as code.
这个 sutra 这个词有时候被称为一个诗节的像一个所音节或是它的音律。
So if you don't know the code, then you cannot understand actually what the Vedanta Sutra is summarizing.
就像每一部程式有它的结构的密码，所以如果你们也不知道它的这个音源的码的话这个音码的话，你没有办法知道它在讲什么。
So basically, after one had understood the whole of Vedic literature, they will use the Vedanta Sutra as some text that could be easily memorized to remember and keep focus on the main points.
所以呢，基本上如果我们有用到终极委托经里面的这一些音律啦，或者是它的诗节的部分，是因为让我们可以来了解这个委托经里面的哲学。
But because this is written in somewhat in codes, it is also a text which is very easily misinterpreted.
因为它是用一种编码这样排出来的，所以也很容易让人家误解。
In fact, this is probably the most misinterpreted of all the Vedic literature.
事实上呢，这个终极委托经是被人们最广泛误解的。
But then Vyasadeva wrote one more, on the request of his guru, he wrote one more work, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam.
那 Vyasadeva 呢，由于他灵性导师的要求，就在做了这部作品，就是这个圣典博切瓦坛。
So the Bhagavatam is this last word, or the last word in Vedic wisdom.
所以博切瓦坛等于是在委托的经典的智慧中的最后的，所以最后的话就是他的结论。
His guru had described to him that you have described so many things that people will become confused.
他的灵性导师说，你描述那么多东西呢，那人们都会觉得迷惑了、困惑了。
And there's hardly any subject that Vyasadeva has not spoken about.
所以在比亚萨德所讲的那么多的一切呢，几乎什么都讲到了。
And therefore, people may get confused because in the Vedas, these two paths are described. Sometimes Pravriti Marg is described and sometimes Nivritti Marg is described.
那因为呢，他所有的委托经里面的所有一切都讲述出来了，就包括感官享乐的，还有包括超然的奉献服务都讲了，那人们可能就会搞混。
Pravriti Marg is the path of sense enjoyment, or basically how to obtain good karma.
Primitive mark 就是说呢，要怎么样得到感官享乐，或者是说怎么样得到一个好的业报。
So it is meant to convert unrestricted sense enjoyer and into pious sense enjoyer.
所以这个部分呢，基本上是把那一些沉溺于感官享乐的人呢，把它规范成有这个虔诚的活动。
So it is to give guidelines to those people who want to enjoy in this world, to do it according to the law of God, and therefore they get good karma.
所以这个部分呢，是在规范那一些自 自欲于感官享乐的人，让他们可以跟随神的律法来这个规范，然后也得到好的业报。
So in order to follow this pravritti marg, one has to study certain scriptures, one has to accept a guru, one has to perform so many activities. Therefore, you starting to give to the individual this framework of discipline.
那为了要得到感官享乐，一个也是要跟随经典哈，那也是要去接受灵性导师，然后要研读经典，然后练习这些规范守则，然后才可以把这些规范的模式呢，架构在人的身上，这样子人才可以得到一种训练，才能有好的行为，而得到好的业报。
But the goal is completely material.
那它这个部分的目的完全是物质的。
For example, if a man wants to become very rich,
比方说有一个人他想要很有钱，
the Vedas will give prescription of how this can be done by the blessing of different divinities.
那委托经也描述到呢，要变成富有的话呢，经典里面说你要怎么样来做，然后得到这个所谓上面什么神仙半神人的祝福。
And by following this prescription, one person come to understand that it's working, he's getting the fruit, therefore his faith in the Vedas increase.
那人们如果跟随着经典里面这样的描述去做的话呢，他会得到他要的结果。那委托经提供这样的讯息，这样的人呢，他会得到信心，他就会对这个委托经开始有信心。
And the form, the external form of their activity would be very similar to the form of a person who is practicing bhakti.
那这样子虽然是目标是为了感官享乐，可是在外表上看起来跟那个在做奉爱服务的人，在外表上看起来是非常相似的。
Whatever you do puja to Ganesh or you do puja to Krishna, same thing. You have incense, flower, water, handkerchief, like that.
所以呢，一个人就是说为了求财而去做神像服务崇拜的话呢，跟正式的对神像来做崇拜是一样的。你用的也是香啦、花啦、手帕啦、水啦，这一些东西，你用的是相同的东西。
So in Vedic society, it's not that there was not a lot of people who were materialists, but that those materialists were regulated.
在委托的社会的时候呢，也不是说没有那些物质感官享乐的人，但是那些想要物质感官享乐的人，他们都是有规范的、有训练的。
For this create a very nice social atmosphere for the people who are trying to practice bhakti.
虽然是感官享乐的目标，但是这些人也是有受到经典上的描述的训练，那这样就有一个很好的气氛，让他们有一个机会将来来练习奉爱服务的程序。
And basically, this is a path meant to convince the rebellious living entity that whatever he may get in this life which is good is coming by the blessing of a higher authority.
那这个方面的好处就是对于那一些叛逆的生物呢，在这个世界里面，他们可以觉悟到呢，他们所得到的一切，事实上是有更高等的生物在提供的。
But somebody who is a spiritualist, who has firm faith in God, already understand this point.
当然，对于那一些灵性上比较进步的人，已经觉悟到神的人，已经了解到这一点了。
Therefore, the question comes: why then should you ask some inferior level of authority for some inferior and temporary benediction?
如果这样的了解，那这个问题又来了，就是说，既然了解，为什么要去找那些比较低层次的所谓上司权威去要求？去求那些比较低层次的这种成果或结果。
When you can approach the supreme authority and ask for the supreme eternal benediction.
如果你可以向这个至尊的上司权威去请求、去要求最高的益助的话，那你为什么还要那么做呢？
So this path is called Nivriti Marg.
在这样的途径称为 Divinity Devotional。
Of the path of spiritual realization.
这个是要得到灵性觉悟的途径。
Marg means a path or a road.
Mark 的意思就是说， 路径途径。
If you visit India, many roads are called, Gandhi Marg, Prabhupada Marg. We have Prabhupada Marg in Vrindavan.
如果你到印度，你也看到很多路上的名字写什么 mark 什么 mark 这个什么路这样子。
So you have this Pavriti Marg and this Nivriti Marg.
所以在这经典里面讲到有 Parity Mark 跟 Nivriti Mark。
So basically, this Pavriti Marg is what we basically see today as being Hinduism is what's left of the Pavriti Marg. What we see nowadays today as Hinduism, usually called Hinduism, is whatever little is left of this Pavriti Marg.
所以呢，现代的我们认为是印度教的这一些经典里面所讲的，几乎就是指感官享乐的部分。
That's what if you travel anywhere in India, you'll see that in every household they're worshipping something.
所以你如果到印度去旅行，你看到每一个人的家里都是在崇拜一些什么人物这样子。
But generally their goal is, that everything will be okay, that they will be happy, that there will be no problem in the family and all these kind of things.
那他们在家里拜一些什么人物呢？一般的目的，也就是说，希望家里所以一切平安啦、和气啦，这些平平安安的这些事。
Good health, good wealth, good children.
就是求健康啦，求财富啦，就说小孩子，就说你生个好孩子啊，这些事。
And if they're a little more intelligent than that, so that after I die I can go to this Swarga, Loka, to the heavenly planet.
那如果再进步一点，就会想说，我死后我可以到那个天堂上去。
Yeah, so basically that's why it's called the path of enjoyment.
因此这个部分称为就是感官享乐的途径。
So if you want to enjoy in this world, that's the way. There's no other way.
但是如果你想要在这个世界去享乐的话，就只有这个方法，没有别的方法。
But the problem is every single one of these enjoyments are always very short-lived.
问题就是说，在这些部分里面的任何感官享乐都是非常短暂的。
And therefore, this doesn't solve the main problems of life, which is birth, death, old age, disease. This Praviti Marg is not addressing this point.
所以在感官享乐这个部分，基本上就是说没有去提到这些生老病死这些情况。
So Nivriti Marg is the path of renunciation or the path of spiritual realization.
所以 Divinity Mark 就是说得到灵性自我觉悟，或是所谓一般人也是认为是解脱的途径。
So this verse is describing the Nivriti Marg, but it's especially describing the highest expression of the Nivriti Marg.
在这节诗是讲到就是说灵性超然的途径，而且是讲述就是说在灵性解脱的更高的境界。
Because here Sutta Goswami is answering questions by the sage, and the sage asked him, one of the questions he asked him is to describe what is the ultimate occupation, what is the ultimate dharma, which is the greatest dharma.
那在这里苏塔格sw米呢回答这些圣人们的问题，然后就是问到就是说，生物中最高的职责是什么？最高的所谓 dharma 是什么？
And then the answer is that by which men attain loving devotional service unto the Lord.
就是说，那可以获得对主的奉爱服务的这个部分，这个途径。
So basically those activities which are bhakti or are leading to bhakti.
那基本上就是在讲，就是说，那些是奉爱的途径，或是说让人们可以走到奉爱的这些途径。
But then furthermore he said, but for that to completely satisfy the self.
再更进一步，就是说可以完全满足自我的。
This service to the Lord should be completely unmotivated and uninterrupted.
所以对至尊主的服务应该是没有任何动机的，而且是不间断的。
So as soon as somebody comes to the conclusion that the goal of life is to serve God with love,
只要一个人他得到这种领悟，就是说他的生命目的是在对神做服务的。
that means he is firmly established on that path.
到这个认识的阶段呢，就是说他可以很坚定的在这条途径上。
But being on the road doesn't mean that you have arrived to your destination. To your destination. Because you're on the road doesn't mean you have arrived.
一个人已经到了这条途径上，并不表示他已经绝对会走到他的目标。
So therefore, in this verse, the author is describing both the road, Hridaya, and the goal, prayojana.
所以在这里这边讲到，就是说讲到这个灵性觉悟的三个部分的两个部分 ，Hridaya 跟 prayojana 这两个阶段。
Yes. So therefore, we see we are all here devotees, trying to be devotees.
那就是我们这一些人在这里都试着想要成为奉献者。
Usually, if we want to be very technical, we have to call ourselves aspiring devotees.
如果说我们要这么来澄清自己的身份的话，我们可以来称呼自己是渴望成为奉献者的人。
Somebody like Prabhupada, that's a devotee.
那如果像 Prabhupada 那样的人，他就是奉献者。
Or Arjuna.
或是像 Arjuna。
Or any of the acharyas.
或者说我们的一些先贤圣哲这些老师们。
We are aspiring devotees.
我们是想要成为奉献者。
New recruits. New recruits.
新的一个团队哈。
Yes. And so therefore, we go from where we are all the way to perfection.
所以我们就是在这条路上，我们自己站在自己的阶段里面，要走到完美的目标。
So in the beginning, naturally, we carry a lot of luggage.
所以在我们开始的时候呢，我们身上背负了很多的包袱。
The fact that we intellectually accept the conclusion of the scripture doesn't mean our heart is immediately pure.
事实上就是说，我们也许在智慧上、智性上已经接受了这个知识，或是接受这个完美的结论，但并不表示我们心里是纯洁的。
It means that we are in a good position to clean it if we make the effort.
有这种了解，有代表就是说，至少我们有这个心愿，还有可以努力来净化我们这些污秽的东西。
This is why in the Vedas it said that one should study truth and illusion, reality and illusion side by side.
因此，韦陀经里面就是说，一个人要可以得到净化，就是说，在真理还有跟在假象之中同时进行，而得到净化跟觉悟。
One should recognize truth when he sees it, and one should also recognize illusion when he sees it.
所以一个人应该呢，他看到真理的时候，他可以分辨出这是真的、真理的。另外，他看到假象的时候，他应该也可以分辨出那些是假的。
And for having a healthy devotional life, it is mostly recommended to try to see the truth in others and the illusion in oneself. The truth in others, basically what are the good qualities they have developed, and within ourselves we should try especially to see which problems are still there.
那为了让我们自己的进步跟净化呢，我们应该去试着去看呢，在别人的部分呢是真实的，然后呢，在自己的部分应该看到自己的问题、自己的假象在哪里。
So in this way we are progressing.
所以这样去看这个世界，一个人才能进步。
Generally, the stages of progression are divided into three phases.
一般呢，在进步的途径上分成三个层次。
The first is called very simply the neophyte.
在技术上呢，这个第一个阶段称为初阶的。
And the Sanskrit terms mean kanista adhikari. Kanista.
这初阶的这个人呢，在梵文词称为 Kanishta Adhikari。
And another term is prakrita bhakta.
另外一个阶段是 Prakrita Bhakta。
Or it means another term. Yeah, it's another way of saying the same thing is to call it prakrita bhakta.
另外这个阶段称为 Prakrita Bhakta。
Prakrita means material and energy, so bhakta means a devotee who is still attached or influenced to a great degree by the material energy.
Prakrita 的意思就是物质能量 ，Bhakta 呢就是说在做奉献服务的人，那就是这个阶段的奉献者呢，他虽然在做奉献服务，但是他是在物质的概念里面或是物质的动机里面。
So it means a materialistic devotee.
所以这个阶段奉献者称为物质主义的奉献者。
And this is where the great majority of us are standing.
那这个物质层面的奉献者这个层面，是我们大部分人还在处在的这个阶段里。
We have to start somewhere, and this is where we are.
我们要进步，总是要有一个地方开始嘛。这个部分是我们一般人所开始的阶段。
That means even though one has a desire to come to Krishna, he also has a lot of material desires that he wants to be fulfilled. A lot of material fear, anxieties, doubts, attachments.
这个阶段呢，就是说，虽然奉献者想要接近 Krishna， 但是同时他还有很多的物质欲望，他有很多的依附，很多的渴望，或是很多的疑问。
And gradually, by chanting Hare Krishna, by associating with devotees, by studying the scriptures, by hearing and chanting, these dirty things in the heart will become progressively cleansed.
所以呢，这样子的情况呢，也是继续持续不断的念诵 Krishna 的圣名，来研读经典，这样持续不断的聆听、念诵、唱诵，这样子我们心中的这些污秽呢，才会渐渐的得到净化。
And he says, in order to devotional service to be pure, it has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted.
然后在这里又说到呢，为了要做到纯洁、纯粹的奉爱服务，必须是没有任何夹杂物质动机，而且是不间断的。
Because if we have some other motivation than the pleasure of Krishna, that means naturally some of our time will be dedicated to pursuing those motivations, and therefore our devotional service will be interrupted. Sometimes we serve, sometimes we, do something else.
所以呢，就是说，我们可以去自然的了解，如果说我们有物质的动机、物质的欲望的话，我们就会自然的花时间去做这些我们想要得到的物质动机的这些活动，花一些时间、精神在里面，自然我们对 Krishna 的服务呢，就会间断。
So in this neophyte stage, in this kanista stage, one of the characteristics is we have a tendency to see things very much by the externals.
在这个初阶的阶段呢，我们是有那么多的物质欲望的概念，所以我们很容易处在一个状态，就是我们看东西是看表面。
So we have a tendency to also think that bhakti is a set of activities, a certain form, rather than a state of consciousness.
所以这样的情况呢，就是说会认为与其说奉爱是一种知觉状态，还不如说它是一个整套的一个程序、一个结构。
So there's very much this mentality that we have to change from this to that and from that to this, like that.
所以在这个阶段呢，我们很多的程序呢，我们的活动必须是，从这个地方要改变成那样的行为，什么该做，什么不该做，有很多的需要去调整。
Even though undoubtedly many things have to change when we go from a materialist to a spiritualist, even externally, but the main change is actually a change of consciousness.
即便呢，我们从物质主义的概念要到成为灵修的人呢，也有很多所谓外在的行为要去改变。那最重要是内心的知觉状态要去改变。
Because sometimes externally, the same activity, a same external activity can be performed for pleasing oneself or for pleasing Krishna.
因为在外在里面的行为，有时候看起来呢，其实好像是在为 Krishna 的快乐而做，但很多时候只是为自己的高兴快乐而做。
For example, a lady would be fully Krishna conscious. She would take care of her children, and because that's her service to Krishna, she sees that they are devotees, they are under my care, and by taking care of them, Krishna will be pleased.
所以，如果一个女人呢，她好好的照顾自己的孩子呢，她是在 Krishna 知觉里面，因为她知道呢，这是她的责任。她如果好好照顾她自己的孩子，先照顾好的话 ，Krishna 会很高兴。
And externally, another lady could be doing the same activities and they will look the same, but there she's taking care of her children because they are my children.
但是另外有一些人呢，他们也是自己在照顾自己的孩子，照顾得很好，可是他心里的想法不一样。他说：“这是我的孩子。”
So, and then these are the two poles, and then most of us we're somewhere in the middle.
所以这是两个端点，那我们经常就是在这两个端点中间的某一个部分。
Sometimes we remember, sometimes we forget.
有时候我们记得了主，有时候我们忘记了主。
Now, if someone practice seriously the process, for most of us means for numbers of years, under the spiritual master,
对我们大部分人，有一些人就是说很多年在灵性导师的指导下去练习。
gradually these weeds will be taken out. These unnecessary things will be gradually removed.
所以呢，在这样规范的训练里面呢，渐渐呢，在心中那些不该要的东西，这些杂草会一个一个被拔掉。
In fact, this is one of the first symptoms that we can see a devotee is advancing nicely, is when this removal of the dirty thing in his own heart becomes his priority.
所以我们可以看到，一个奉献者最首先要去做的，就是把心中的这些杂碎杂草先除掉，这是他最主要先要做的事。
He becomes much less concerned with all the problem of the others.
这样的心态，他的知觉就比较不会去管人家的问题，去插手插脚的。
And a lot more concerned with the big job he has to do at home.
然后他比较去管自己在家里应该去做到的事。
So, and when this focus start to arise, that one devotee is entering what we call anartha-nivriti, for those who know the scriptures a little bit, then one's focus is really his own purification.
那这个阶段，这个 anartha-nivriti 呢，就是说把心中的杂草、这些杂味不应该要的东西除掉呢，这个时候他才会渐渐的专注在自己内心要专注的事。
He's always willing to help anybody else who also wants to get this purification.
这样的阶段的人，他当然也是准备好要来帮助，而且就是说他自己的存实也是准备好要得到净化。
But he doesn't freak out when they fall short.
Doesn't freak out.
They don't freak out when they cannot come to the standard.
而且如果去掉自己心中的杂草的东西的话呢，当别人或自己达不到这个目标的时候，他自己不会惊慌或者是去责骂别人。
When the devotee reach that kind of level, this is where usually the association start to become sweet.
如果一个人可以除掉这些杂秽的东西的话，他才跟别人的奉献者这些关系才会是甜美的。
Like if you have a group of people and everybody is concerned with their own purification and not too concerned about it, then it becomes very, very pleasing association, very pleasing atmosphere.
因为如果每个人都关心自己有没有把自己这一些所谓污秽脏的东西除掉的话呢，他不会去管别人怎么问题、怎么不高兴的事。那这样就是说彼此之间关系自然会非常快乐。
And I've seen in India, especially in South India, some places where people are just by culture and by, previous lives, they're just spontaneously like that.
我在南印度看到有一些人可能是他的文化，或是他上一辈子的修行，所以他这一世出生的这种天性就是这么好。
As soon as there's a little difficulty, everybody's taking the blame. No, it was my fault. I shouldn't have said that, or it's like, and they just go on and on, apology to one another. It becomes very, very sweet.
那就是说他们的气氛是这么好，就是说修行这么好。那如果说他们这种团体里面有什么问题，大家就说是我的错，自己都会先自责，而不是怪别人，自己先说自己的错啊，我自己不应该这么说，我不应该这么做。所以这彼此之间关系就非常的喜悦。
And by practicing devotional life in this way, one avoids the offenses more and more, and therefore one's progress becomes quicker and quicker.
那在这样的练习，一个人的就是说杂草越来越少，他的冒犯越来越少，所以他的进步会越来越快。
Then one reach what's called the medium stage, which is called fixed.
然后再来到了这个中间的阶段，这时候才会所谓坚定。
Fixed doesn't mean that you have reached the goal. It means you are no longer interested to get out of the road.
这个坚定的阶段，并不是说你已经到达了目标了，而是说你可以保留在这条途径上，而不会受其他事情的分心或干扰。
This is your road. You're following your spiritual master, and everything else is of no interest for you.
就是说，这是你要走的路，你只要跟随灵性导师，其他的东西你也没有兴趣，你也不会去想。
So a person who is on that qualification is considered capable to take the service of a guru.
如果一个人已经到达这种阶段、这种知觉的话，他可以被考虑为可以接受灵性导师教给他的真正的严重的训示。
Because he has a good compass, he can guide others. Yeah.
灵性导师有一个很好的罗盘，它是一个很好的指南针啊。这个人如果跟随灵性导师的话，他就可以来引导别人。
So usually people that are taking the position of guru are of this degree of advancement.
所以一般呢，要成为灵性导师，至少已经是到这个阶段是很坚定的了。
Or at least they should be in ideal situation.
或者是说，在理想上的灵性导师应该是处在这个阶段。
Because if you follow somebody who's going to get there, you're also going to get there.
如果你就说你跟到什么样程度的人，你就只能进步到那个程度。
If somebody is going in the right direction and he is not deviating, if you follow that person, that means automatically you're also going in the right direction.
就是说，你跟了一个是走在正确途径上的人的话呢，你就跟着他做，你也不会说走偏了。
So that person is become unmotivated and so his service is unmotivated and uninterrupted.
所以在这样的阶段的人呢，他是没有任何物质的动机，然后他这样持续的做呢，也是没有间断的服务。
So in a sense, the second part of the verse can also be seen to point out to the Madhyamadikari.
所以在这节诗的第二个部分，可以来表示这到中间阶段的人。
Because people on that platform, they're already completely satisfied.
因为在这个阶段人，他已经是完全自己满足的人了。
But because there are still some deep-rooted, subtle motivation and interruption, it can also point to the highest level where there's absolutely no motivation left and no interruption left. The difference is the person on that level, it doesn't act on this motivation. But the motivation may still be there in the heart, but he will not act on it.
在这个中间阶段的人呢，有没有粗糙的物质欲望，但是有时候在他已经深层根深蒂固、过去累积来的这些物质欲望在里面，但是呢，他不会去对自己的物质欲望去做任何反应，虽然他在心里面还有。
That's why it's called nista, self-control.
所以这个阶段这个 nishta 就是说它是自我控制的。
Yes. But there may be some interruption in the sense that, sometimes he may do something and be aware of Krishna, and sometimes, his mind is still maybe wandering, but he is not making any plan to, go and, enjoy this material world.
虽然还有一些物质欲望很轻微的存在里面，但是呢，他有时候可能心中会有一点徘徊在这些物质欲望里面，但是呢，他会快把心收回来，他也不会去做任何反应，就是说他要怎么样去达到他的物质目标的这些计划。
So, and then there are devotees of the highest order, those who are completely self-realized and have reached the stage of what we call Krishna Prema, or pure love of Krishna.
那另外一个阶段呢，就是更高一点的阶段，就是说已经到达最高的，就是有到达对 Krishna 爱的阶段的人。
And so, the Prabhupada is a devotee in that category.
像 Prabhupada 就是在这样阶段的奉献者。
So they sometimes also take the position of guru, but not necessarily.
这一些阶段的人，有时候他会是接受成为咕噜的这种地位，但有时候他们不会去接受这样的地位。
Because in their vision, they see that Krishna is already doing everything. And everybody is already serving Krishna, only I'm not serving Krishna.
因为在这个阶段的人，他们会有这种看法，就是说，反正 Krishna 已经在安排照顾所有一切，那所有的生物都已经在服务 Krishna， 只有我自己什么都没有在做。
So their humility has reached absolute proportion.
所以这个阶段的人，他的谦卑的程度是到他最应该有的阶段。
So there's this gradation, but since we are more on this lower stage, I will come back and elaborate more on the first lower stages.
那因为有这么多不同的阶段，那我们大部分还在初阶的阶段，所以我们在初阶的部分来多加的解说。
So this first stage of materialistic devotee, there are many characteristics. For example, sometime Prabhupada explained that he will see Krishna in the temple, but as soon as he's out of the temple, he's not seeing Krishna.
那在这个初阶的所谓渴望成为奉献者的人呢，也有分成很多类。那Prabhupada常说呢，这些人一般是这样，他在庙里的话会看到说哦 Krishna 在庙里，可是一走出庙里，他不会去想到 Krishna。
So he can be very nice with Krishna, very nice with Guru, and then with the other devotees, like that.
这个阶段人呢，可能会对 Krishna 神像很尊敬啊，对灵性导师很尊敬，可是对别的奉献者是大吼大叫。
That's called Maya.
这个阶段也是在玛雅里。
That means you don't see that Krishna is in the heart of every devotee, and then even in the heart of every living entity.
这个表示他对别人这样不礼貌啊，这么粗鲁，也就是表示说他根本没有去想到呢 ，Krishna 在每个生物的心中，而且 Krishna 在每个奉献者的心里。
So the devotee will read that he has to respect the devotees, but I think this applies mostly to, senior devotees, advanced devotee, guru, like that. He reads that he has to respect the devotee, but I think this only applies to, the ones sitting on a big seat like that, but, the other people, they're not really devotees,
这些出界的奉献者，我们俗话说很势利，他只对那个所谓很资深的奉献者啊、灵性导师啊，坐在上位的人是毕恭毕敬啊，什么样的给他什么好处啊，对其他的奉献者是你怎么样，这样子不客气。
So as long as we remain on that platform, it's like you make 3 steps forward and then 2 steps backwards, and then it's like that,
如果我们还保持在这种知觉状态的话，就是说，我们走3步退2步，走3步退2步，就是自己在那边自己徘徊来回。
And when we preach also, we see it's like that, like we're very nice, we bring somebody, and then 3 weeks after he fought with that one fight with that one, or he saw somebody else fight, and then they become discouraged, they stop coming, all these kind of things will happen.
然后呢，这些出街奉献者有时候到外面传教呢，就找新的人进来，然后带到里面来，然后就是说这个 A 跟 B 啊吵架啦，然后他说谁的坏话，然后跟谁不要走近啊，然后这样，那新的人看到这些杂七杂八事，后来都不来了。
And because this devotee is very untrained in philosophy, his point of view is mostly sentimental.
那这种奉献者，事实上还没有在哲学上受到训练。事实上，他的哲学概念是非常感情用事的。
Prabhupada used to say, religion without philosophy is sentimentality. This also applies to us.
那Prabhupada常说呢，宗教如果没有哲学的架构的话，只是感情用事，这对我们来讲也是实际的。
So in this sentimental outlook, we think that however I'm seeing the world, everybody should see the world in the same way.
这个时候，我们常很自我中心，认为我这么样的看世界呢，每个人都应该跟我同样的看法。
And usually devotees, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes the point, devotees on this level, they think whichever service they're more attached to, they think that's what everybody else should be attached to. Somebody is a pujari, he thinks, this is the real thing, everybody should be into puja. Somebody is, like that.
那 Bhaktivinoda Thakur 他又说了，在这种阶段的奉献者会有这种状态。他认为呢，比方说他做的服务是很好，所以他认为每个人都应该做这个服务。比方说他是在做神像服务的，他认为每个人都应该去做神像服务才是最好的。
And so another element of the Kanista mentality is what we call us and them.
另外一个在出街的这种心态，就是说我们、他们这样的区分。
Yeah, we think we are devotees, and all those people out there, they are karmis, they don't, like that. All this kind of, we see things like in boxes.
那这个阶段就是说，就会这样区分，说我们是奉献的，那些人是物质主义者，然后就把人划成就放在不同的这个框框里面。
This person fits into this box, this person fits into that box, that person fits into that box.
然后我们就把人自己去标签、去分类，这个人应该放在这个箱里面，那个应该放在那个框框里面，这样自己去划分。
That person is so bad, nobody even managed to make a box.
那个人糟糕到没有人要把它放在任何一个框里面。
So like that, then that means the devotee on that level is not seeing the eyes, is not seeing the world with the eyes of the scriptures.
这个表示呢，这样的奉献者，他的眼光不是从经典的眼光来看。
But when a devotee gradually progresses and becomes purified in the heart, and also purified in his intelligence by contact with the scriptures, then he starts to see things differently.
那如果奉献者是从经典这样，就是说他的智慧去净化，还有他知觉净化的话，他开始会去从经典的眼光来看这个世界。
Then one begins to see that actually everybody is a spirit soul.
如果真的能到这样的进化的话呢，他才有办法看到每个生物事实上是灵性的灵魂。
With different level of covering.
然后是灵性的灵魂，他们受到不同程度的遮盖掩蔽。
With different types of desires.
而且受到不同的物质欲望所遮盖。
Different types of bodies.
而且受到不同的身体所遮盖。
Different types of development of their qualities. People also have different qualities and they have different degree of development.
而且呢，我也就是看到这个阶段，可以看到人这个灵魂呢，受到不同层次的品质所发展出来的情况是遮蔽的程度是怎么样。
Somebody may be very materialistic, but he might be very patient.
有一些人可能是很物质主义的，但是他可能是一个很有耐心的人。
We see very many materialistic people who are hardworking.
我们看到物质主义者，也有很多人是工作的非常的努力的。
Dependable.
而且他们是可以让人依赖的。有一些物质主义者是很好的。
And like that.
也有这样子的人。
Of course, we know that without Krishna, these qualities have no value because eventually they will go.
同时，我们也了解呢，如果没有 Krishna 的存在呢，这些好的品质都没有价值，因为有一天这些好的品质都会没有。
Because it is purely on the materialistic platform, these things will come and go.
因为这一切都完全在物质的层面，总会来，总会去。
Yeah, but nonetheless, this approach of seeing things through philosophy frees us from this platform of seeing things very sentimentally.
所以呢，如果从这个哲学上的经典哲学上的角度来看，才能让我们脱离这种感情用事的状态。
And developing this knowledge is especially sees that the devotee to get out of this sentimental point of view has to discriminate. Especially in the beginning, we have to discriminate between four things.
为了要达到这个从经典的眼光去判断呢，脱离这个感情用事的阶段呢，最开始我们还是必须要有一些分辨的能力，基本上有4个方向，4件事我们要来分辨。
Number 1, we worship the Lord and the advanced devotees.
第一项就是说，我们崇拜主，还有向那个进步的奉献者来崇拜。
Means we worship Krishna, we worship Guru, we worship the acharyas, we worship everything which denotes a very obvious qualities of bhakti.
我们崇拜这个 Krishna， 我们崇拜这些灵性导师们圣贤们。那这个意思就是说，对那个灵性品质很明显的这些人来崇拜。
Number 2, we live and associate and develop friendship with devotees or
Yes.
aspiring devotees.
第二项就是说，我们要生活在这样的环境，就是跟奉献者在一起，要跟奉献者发展有爱的关系。
That means devotees are the only people with whom we are intimate with.
因为在这个整个存在的世界里面，只有这些真正的奉献者，才是我们真正可以亲爱的人。
Naturally, in life, we have a relationship with so many people that may not be devotees, family relation, professional relationships. But these relations should be, can be warm, but we are very careful that we are not, this is not where we put our, where we try to fulfill our emotional needs.
在这个世界上，我们当然跟很多人都有关系，家庭上的成员，或是工作上、职业上的关系。当然啦，有一些人也是很好，可是这一些毕竟不是我们应该把感情放在这些人身上的。
That doesn't mean we doesn't smile to the girl at the grocery store or that we're not nice to anybody we speak with.
当然啦，这并不表示说我们就不跟那个杂货店里面的店员微笑啦，不要跟别人这样子打交道，不是这个意思。
But basically, this deep intimacy, this is for devotees.
因为最实在就是说，一个人最深切的感情是在跟这些真实的奉献者的关系里面。
Then number 3, we give our mercy, we give our help, we are merciful to the innocent.
第三项就是说，我们应该是仁慈慈悲的，对那些无辜的人，应该对他们同情慈悲。
So we see some people, they're not necessarily bad people, they're just ignorant or misguided, or they didn't have a chance to, emancipate spiritually.
基本上就是对有一些人呢，他们也不是坏人，但是他们是比较无知的，那也是就是说天真的，没有什么特别概念，我们应该对他们有一些就是说怜悯。
Yeah. And generally, there are those people who are following some element of this prabhu marg.
一般这些所谓还是好人啊，这些无知的人呢，他们还是在跟随感官享乐的途径的人。
Of course, this prabhu marg can take many forms. Like if you go to China, they will, worship the ancestors and, different things like that. But generally, we see these are good people. They are basically our best clients.
如果在这个中国这个情况里面，也有很多的这种好人呐、他们也是拜什么人物啦，拜神仙啦，拜鬼啦。但是这对我们来讲，这些人是我们所谓最好的顾客，就是说他们还是有好的品质，一些虔诚的人。
This is what we generally call, quote unquote, good people.
我们一般就是说，一般的成立好人的这些人。
And then 4 says that one has to avoid the envious, avoid the demoniac.
第四项就是说，一个人要去回避、逃避那些嫉妒的人，就是那些邪恶的人，你要去回避他们。
Because usually when somebody is very adamantly opposed to God, opposed to Krishna consciousness, envious of the devotees, envious of anybody else who's developing good qualities, very negative, these people, we cannot have effect on them.
就是有一些人是非常邪恶的，很嫉妒的，就是说看到别人进步呢，他就很嫉妒，然后对于神的培养神的关系，他也是很嫉妒、很愤愤不平。这些人呢，我们要去回避他们。
A great soul like Srila Prabhupada, they could, but generally for us it's just a waste of time and we end up being affected by their negative energy.
当然，除了 Prabhupada 他是已经那么超然的，所以是不一样。但是我们一般人如果跟这些嫉妒的人交往的话，我们会受到这些毒素的影响。
So then basically it is like this. This 4th thing is that one worships the Lord and the advanced devotees.
所以基本上是这样，一个人来崇拜主，还有崇拜进步的奉献者。
One develop very affectionate dealings with the devotees.
再来呢，跟奉献者的交往要非常亲爱。
One give his affection to the innocent, but is not, especially in a form of spiritual guidance, without expecting nothing from them.
再来就是说，一个人要对那些无知天真的人，给他们感情，给他们亲爱。当然不是在所谓哲学上，但是就是只是给他们的好的感觉，但是不要要求回报。
And one change side of the street when you meet an atheist. You see an atheist, you know, a very negative, very demoniac person you should avoid.
就是说，再来另外一项就是说，对于那个很邪恶、恶魔心的、嫉妒的人，你要回避，因为呢，你走在这条途径上，你不回避的话呢，那些无神论者会影响你。
Now the same person one day may be innocent, the next day may be demoniac, because people change. So sometime that person you cannot speak today, wait some better day. People change.
那有时候人们呢，心意经常是变动在不定的，变动不定。那今天好像很天真无知，第二天是很邪恶、很嫉妒的。那你就等几天之后再跟他说话，不要回避他，不然你会受到他毒素所影响。
So I will make a few last points, then we can go to questions. So this just to give a little map of where we are.
我们来再给大家一个描述，就是说看看我们自己到底在什么样的阶段。
This first level of Kanista, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is dividing into 6 sublevels.
在初阶的阶段呢，这个先哲呢，就 Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur 呢，他把它分成6种。
And then the lowest of all devotees, basically, is what we call Utsahamai.
那在这个6个层次里面，最初阶的这个Utsahamai这个阶段。
So this is translated as puffed up with enthusiasm.
这种阶段人称为，他是充满热忱，但是他是骄傲的人。
Because somebody was just suffering in the material world not so long ago, now he discovered bhakti, and now his life is changing. He's full of enthusiasm, and he's going to show the devotees how it's done.
这种阶段人就是说，他已经脱离物质痛苦了，所以他感到很高兴，所以充满了热忱。但是他同时很骄傲，要让别人知道说，我做到了，这是我做的。
Yeah.
He's telling others how to do things.
而且他还是告诉别人他要怎么来做事情，他很骄傲。你看怎么做吧。
This is a very widespread disease.
这是非常普遍的疾病。
Especially very common with young monks, when they just join the temple and they put saffron after a couple.
就像新官上任3把火，那刚剃头的和尚特别热心啊，什么都是很热忱的。
But it is not restricted to brahmacharis.
但是他还不是很严格的遵守圣。
No, it's not restricted. It's not only this type of people. Many other people also have the same mentality. Not restricted just to brahmacharis.
It's general, most of these
But every devotee is suffering. This is just the example which is given. I mean, somebody is very serious, because in the beginning, you see when the devotees come, they are very serious. In the beginning, everybody is quite serious.
所以呢，如果你看呢，其实每个人刚进来的时候是非常认真的，他一切都很积极、很认真、很小心。
Then one becomes little proud,
那一段时间之后，一个人就开始骄傲了。
And then you start seeing all the other devotees around, they're not so serious.
然后他自己有点骄傲，就看着别人都不太认真，就最认真。
And so, in that mentality, it's just a matter of time that he will make some offense.
那在这样的心态里面呢，他会有一些冒犯。
And then, as a result of the offense, then, for a while, he will be not so serious.
那由于这个冒犯的结果，所以会有一段时间他就不太认真。
Which leads us to the second level.
这个就会引到这个第2个阶段。
Which is called Gana Tarala, means thick and thin.
这个称为 Gana Tarala，就是说一下子厚，一下子薄。
It's like yogurt. You know, you can have very thick yogurt or very, very thin yogurt, like water.
就好像 yogurt 也是一样，有很稠，像快要像果冻了，还有一些很稀，就像水了。
So the devotee sometimes is practicing nicely, sometimes little relaxed, little nicely, little relaxed, nicely relaxed. That.
对，奉献者就是说，有时候啊做得很好，有时候就放松了，就掉下来了；有时候要做得很好，有时候掉下来。
So externally, he may look less advanced than the other guy.
所以在表面上，他看起来比较不像别人那样看起来那么进步。
But in reality, he is little more advanced because he is becoming a little more humble.
在实际上呢，他是稍微进步，因为他稍微比较谦虚了。
Yeah. When one can go above that, then he gets a little stable, but then he is full of question.
那如果一个人可以超越这个阶段呢，他会稍微比较稳定，但是在这个阶段的时候，他会都是问题，很多事情他都觉得有问
And
题。
the example Vishwanath is giving is, should I get married or not?
然后比方一个例子，这个 Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur 就是说，有人就会说，我到底要不结
Should
婚？
should I, just give up everything and move into the temple? Or no, maybe better, I stay with my family and I make my house into a temple. And like that, mine is going between renunciation and engagement of his.
这个阶段的时候，他的心意呢就滚来滚去，你现在想说，我到底要搬到庙里去住吗？还是我留在家里，然后让我家里来传教，还是说我要怎么样啊？就心意在那边飘来飘去的。
So at that level, the devotees doesn't know how much he should renounce, how much he should try to engage his desire. So this usually that means this is where the association of the guru starts becoming a little fruitful, because this questioning is there, and if he takes advantage of the guru, then the guru will help him find what is the best situation suited for him.
所以在这个阶段呢，会是这么多的问题，然后他处于说应该去依赖多少的成分，要弃绝多少，要到什么样的程度的弃绝。那在这徘徊里面的问题里面，这个时候灵性导师的训示开始有一些成果了，因为这个时候他已经开始在问了，那灵性导师可以根据他个人的状况，给他比较适切的答案。
And then after that, it says that the next level is called the war on Maya. The devotee declares war on Maya.
这另外一个阶段就是说，玛雅的墙，这个时候奉献者自己在制造这个玛雅的墙，这个
Enough!
受够了。
So I'll stop here because I could never make it past that point on a good day. So I'll have to check. But if I don't remember, but you can get a book, and it's probably even available on the internet. It's called Madhurya Kadumbini. Madhurya Kadumbini by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Dina Bandhu made a translation. I have it in my hard drive if you remind me later.
He mentioned the 5 and 6.
Oh yeah, yes, he mentions everything. He mentioned the different.
Can you just mention it now?
Yeah, then the 5th level. Like I said, I didn't meditate too much by that point. I know that the 6th level that he may but the fifth level is that his preaching will start to bear effect. So a lot of people will be coming towards him.
刚刚讲到第4个阶段，第5个阶段就是说，已经超越刚刚那些徘徊疑问的阶段的时候，他已经比较稳定。第5个阶段就是说他在传教的时候会稍微有些效应，人们会自然会走进他。
There'll be an inherent attachment to that, because you become purified. Everybody start thinking you're a pretty nice person, and so therefore you become attached to that recognition and all those things.
这第5个阶段就是说，他已经有点进步，然后人家
5 and 6 are along
然
those
后
lines.
他传教有些效应，所以他开始会依附人们有没有察觉到他的地位他还有一点
You let me do my homework.
但是他已经是比较
Next time I see you, I'll give you the whole. So I'll just finish with a story, then we can go to the question. There was this mouse, and this mouse was always fighting for his life because so many cats were trying to catch it.
有一个故事，就是说有一只老鼠，它每次都在逃命，因为有很多只猫一直在追它。
So one day the mouse was very lucky that it ran and hid under this yogi who was very powerful yogi who was performing austerities.
有一天，这只老鼠呢，刚好撞到一个瑜伽师，这个瑜伽师是一个已经很进步的这个冥想的。
This yogi had many mystic power. One of them is he could communicate with animals.
那这个瑜伽师他有练到一种神通，他可以跟动物来交流。
So it has the mouse, what's troubling you, and the mouse is saying, oh, all those cats, they're always giving me trouble.
那这个瑜伽师就问这只老鼠，就说你有什么麻烦呀？怎么样？那这老鼠跟他说呢，我有个麻烦，就是说这个猫一直在追我。
You're a very powerful sadhu. Why not you make me a cat? That will solve all my problems.
这只老鼠就跟这个瑜伽师说：“你神通这么广大啊，为什么不把我变成一只猫，然后就可以躲掉猫的这个追逐？”
So the yogi was very merciful. So he said, "Tatastu, let it be. You become a cat."
这瑜伽师也是非常仁慈，就是tatastu，就是说，好吧，你变成一只猫。
So now he's very happy, going around like a cat, thinking everything is now solved.
那这头生物呢，就变成一只猫，它很高兴的来来去去啊，它就不用有猫在追逐它。
And he comes back after a week.
那一个星期之后，它又回过来了。
He says, "Oh, the dogs are troubling me.
他说：“哎呀，现在是狗在找我麻烦，
Cat is not so nice.
当猫儿也不够好，
I want to become a dog."
我现在要变成一只狗了。”
So once again, the yogi was pretty cool guy. Okay, you become a dog.
那这个瑜伽师也是很冷静，说：“好吧，你就变成一只狗吧。”
So now he's very newly enthusiastic to enjoy. Now the cats are not. Now he can run after the cat.
所以现在呢，他又变成狗了，他很高兴，活蹦乱跳，就想说：“我现在可以来追猫了。”
Then again, after a few weeks, he comes back.
那几个星期之后，他又回过来了。
So the yogi says, "What now?"
瑜伽说：“那现在又是怎么了？”
Tigers.
他说：“现在我的麻烦是老虎。”
I want to be a tiger.
他说：“我想要变成老虎啊。”
So then the yogi said, "Okay, you be a tiger."
瑜伽师说：“好吧，你就变成老虎吧。”
But when he became a tiger, he started to look at the yogi, and like he was hungry.
当他变成老虎的时候，他开始去看着这个瑜伽师，然后就虎视眈眈的想要把它吃掉，肚子饿了。
Mahaprasadi Govinde.
瑜伽师成为他的食物。
And so the yogi looked at him and says, this is a very famous saying in India. It says, again become a mouse.
所以呢，这瑜伽师呢，就是说，你成为这个老鼠吧，就在印度是很常用的这个，就是说不管你变成什么，最后还是回到你变成老鼠的身份。
So basically, it's like that. We come, we are like Utsahamayi, we are very big guy, we think we can do everything,
所以我们进来的时候，刚进了一段时间，我们呢就是就是我们想说，我们太好了，
we feel really good.
我们觉得太棒了，我们什么都可以做，我还可以告诉别人怎么做。
But then we forget that we're feeling good because of the association of the devotees.
但是我们忘记，我们会感觉这么好，是因为我们跟奉献者的联
It's
谊。
not by our own little power that we're feeling like this.
我们这种快乐不是说自己个人这么小小的力量得到。
And so as soon as we forget that, then again you become a mouse.
只要我们忘记这真实的身份的时候，我们又变成老鼠了。
That's why the next level is Ganatarala, Pigtin, tiger, mouse, tiger, mouse.
所以这个下个阶段就跟他谈了啦，就是说，一下子厚，一下子薄，一下浓，一下子稠，是稀，那就一下子老鼠，一下子老虎。
Until you read enough, until you can read the story
所以接着你们可以自己读这个故事，
and get some realization.
然后会得到一些领悟。
Yes. So like that, so we have to be very careful of this mentality. We have to see that whatever we have is by the mercy of the Krishna, by the mercy of the Vaishnava.
所以我们自己要非常小心自己的心态，不管我们拥有什么，都是由于 Krishna 的仁慈，还有奉献者的仁慈。
And if we are very talented in finding faults, we should use that great talent to find our own. If we have great talent to fault finding, we should apply it to our own life.
如果我们有那种天才去找别人的毛病，看到别人的错，应该用这种天分来找自己的错，来发现自己的毛病。
So Prabhupada often said a devotee is very lenient with others, but strict with himself.
所以 Prabhupada 常说呢，奉献者应该是宽以待人，严以律己。
So we can take some questions.
所以我们现在来让大家来发问。
Yes, Maharaj?
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice class. Regarding luggage, so it seems that it's easier to see the luggage in others, right? And not to want to see one's own shortcomings.
就是说，一个人他身上背的包袱，我们常常是比较容易看到别人的错，然后没有看到自己的错。
And to see one's own shortcomings, it's kind of a painful process.
如果一个人要去发掘自己的错，一般来说是一个痛苦的过程。
So we prefer not to do it.
因为如果看到自己有错，其实自己会觉得痛苦，所以我们常常不愿意这么做。
It's depressing. It's depressing.
一个人会觉得，如果看到自己错，会觉得是一种沮丧的情况。
So my question is, what gives us the strength to look at ourselves?
所以我的问题就是说，我们要看自己的话，真诚实的去看自己，这个力量要从哪里来，可以看到自己。
What gives us the
What gives us the strength?
What gives us
The strength to look.
determination or the desire?
But the strength is the feeling of shelter that comes by feeling how love is beyond all those things. That true love, that bhakti, is so powerful that basically by feeling shelter. When we feel shelter, that's why we have people. By feeling shelter, we feel comfortable.
这个力量来自于奉爱本身的力量，因为奉爱的力量是非常强大。一般呢，我们会觉得得到庇护呢是如果我们觉得在某一个地方有庇护，我们才会觉得舒服。
Because in the material world, whenever you have some faults, that means you're going to have to suffer some level of rejection.
因为在物质世界里面，假如你有犯错的话，这个同义语就是说，你会受到别人的排斥或拒绝。
But because we are spiritualists, rejection is not our process. We're not moralists.
因为我们是在奉爱服务的灵性的程序里面，我们不是道德家，所以当一个人犯错的时候，不是去拒绝的。
So gradually, as our faith is growing and we see how much shelter is there in Krishna and in the devotees, then we let go of this fear and we're able to open up.
所以呢，如果一个人是有这种信心继续的话呢，他可以感受到 Krishna 的庇护，还有在奉献者的庇护的话，他才会排除这种害怕、恐惧的心，才能把心打开。
Like we say, we cannot see our own nose, but for everybody else, our nose is very obvious thing.
比方说，我们自己看不到自己的鼻子，但是别人看我们鼻子看得很清楚。
Yes. So therefore, sometimes it's difficult to see our own faults, but everybody else seems to be quite on consensus about what they are.
所以呢，我们呢常常是看不到自己的错， 但是同时别人对自己的错也不太有察觉。
That's why to progress in this,
No, we cannot see our faults, but all the other people are pretty much in agreement about our faults, the faults we have. Consensus means they are in agreement about the faults. We don't see our own faults, but all other people seem to see.
no, consensus means everybody is in agreement about what our faults are. We're just the one who seem to not know.
大家都看到我的错，自己没看到，那大家都认为我都有错。
And so therefore, in order to look into our heart, the help of others is required. We need some feedback.
为了要看到自己内心的状态呢，我们需要别人来给我们回应。
But because the heart is a very fragile thing, we don't want to get this feedback for somebody who is too immature.
但是因为我们的心意也是很脆弱的，我们不希望别人给我们回应是让他们是不成熟的反应。
No, you open the heart and people is putting the blade. You know?
不是说你把心打开，别人用刀子戳你去。
So that why, and therefore this opening of the heart, that cannot be done with each and everybody, even with each and every devotee.
所以要把心打开，不是对什么人都可以这么做，不是对每个奉献者你就可以把心打开。
It is usually done with whom we feel affection, love, respect, trust is there.
一般呢，如果要把心打开给某一个奉献者，就是说你对他有感情，而且你会觉得你可以信赖他，有尊敬这些感觉在里面才有办法。
That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur translate Sadhu Sangha as the association of an advanced devotee who is showing affection towards us.
所以呢，Bhaktivinoda Thakur 讲到说，Sadhu Sangha 就是说跟奉献者、圣人的联谊，就是说跟比较进步的奉献者，而且他会对我们表达出那种亲爱的这些人。
And so usually it is an exercise, so the more we reveal our mind, and especially about our problems and things like that, to people who truly love us and are our well-wisher, we see that actually it's a great relief.
所以呢，我们可以去练习，而且去练习这样对一个真正进步的、对我们有感情的奉献者，去把我们的心揭开，把我们的问题向他所谓表达、询问。那我们得到他们的这种照顾的时候，事实上对我们来讲是一种很解脱，心里好像放下大石头那种轻松。
I remember one time I was, I was a brahmachari for many years, Utsahamai, and then, Ganatarala came, so I was living outside the temple, and I was not doing too good. And I was feeling very shy and ashamed to go and see my guru.
那像我自己呢，最开始进来的时候也是非常热诚，然后又是充满着热情又骄傲。那后来又这样子，又一些冒犯，然后又跌下来，一下子热诚，一下子冷下来，然后后来又搬到外面去住，然后后来自己觉得自己做不好，然后觉得又害羞又没有脸去见自己的灵性导师。
But because I used to remember that as a puffed up brahmachari, my guru was pretty heavy with me.
而且我记得最开始的阶段，我虽然是很热忱，但是又骄傲。可是那个时候，我灵性导师还对我蛮高兴的。
Heavy.
那对我是非常的，就是指责的严厉。
Like thunder,
就好像那棍子这样敲过去。
He was like very, very strict with me.
我的灵性导师对我非常的严格。
And so now I was completely, not chanting, going through very tough time, big beard,
那个时候我就没有念诵啊，我过得很辛苦啦，我的留着长胡子。
But somehow I was working to make money, and my plan was to move to India.
但是那个虽然是这样的情况，可是我做了计划，我在赚钱，我想要搬到印度去住。
So the day I was about almost to fly to India, I was coming, and you cannot go to Vrindavan without getting blessing from your guru.
那我已经就是说准备好了要到 Vrindavan， 可是呢，已经准备要飞了。可是如果没有得到灵性导师的祝福的话，你到圣地也没有用。
So finally I gathered my courage and went to see him.
我就鼓足勇气呢去看我的灵性导师。
And then to my great surprise, he was very, very sweet with me.
那我很惊讶，灵性导师那时候对我一种很甜美的感情。
Take some Mahaprasad.
给我一些玛哈这个 prasad。
He used to never give me prasad from his stash.
其实从来我都没有得到他亲手给我的 prasad。
That was for the guests.
一般是给客人的。
But now I was a guest.
现在我是客人。
So this is the guru is like thunder and like the rose.
所以灵性导师也是像，就是这个霹雷闪电那样的厉害，那么严格，但是也像玫瑰那么温柔。
So when I was being very proud, very, very strict and like that, so what I needed was the thunder.
所以当我很骄傲的时候，我需要就是灵性导师的严厉。
Somebody completely reminding you that you're not that great.
所以总是有人跟你提醒说你没有那么伟大。
But when we are feeling down, then we need the other energy, which is more encouraging.
所以当我们自己在低沉的时候，我们
Which is like the rose,
需要另外的东西，就像需要玫瑰那种温柔。
So especially when the devotee is fragile, then we have to treat them. We have to become like the rose.
所以特别奉献者是脆弱的，我们应该像是玫瑰般这种心去对待他们。
So sometimes the guru is like father, sometimes the guru is like mother.
所以有时候灵性导师像个父亲，有时候像个母亲。
So we find that certain devotees in our life, and I was mentioning this story to see that from that day it struck me actually how merciful and broad-minded the Vaishnavas actually are.
所以那一天就给我很大的提示，就是说我可以觉悟到呢 ，Vaishnava 是这么的超然，心胸这么宽广，是这么仁慈。
And basically how different they are from materialistic people.
而且在那种时刻，让我觉悟到他跟物质主义的人是怎么样的不同。
And so the more we come to this realization that devotees are like that, or at least advanced devotees are like that, then the more we have this trust that we are willing to go to this process of showing what's going on inside.
所以呢，如果我们有这样的经验、这样的信心去发展的话，我们渐渐可以了解到奉献者是哪一些特别是资深的这些成熟的奉献者，让我们可以把心打开，我们会有这种信心，然后会脱离我们这些恐惧、害怕的心。
Like a child is not afraid to tell his mother if he has some problem, because he feels safe that the relationship is solid and the mother is there to help. So then he will reveal naturally, oh, I'm having a problem with this or that.
就像一个孩子自然会向他的母亲把心胸打开，因为他跟他母亲的关系健康是良好的时候，他的母亲是给他的一个庇护，所以他有办法把心打开，告诉他自己的问题是什么，因为他在母亲的怀抱是安全的。
That's why when we are treating devotees in this very moralistic way, we are turning so many people away because people feel hurt. Whenever they have some difficulty, they feel judged and hurt, which is mostly Judeo-Christian values. It has nothing to do with our Krishna conscious view of things.
所以有时候我们跟奉献者相处的时候，态度很不好，很漠视、很冷漠，好像别人都是错误，就是很冷酷无情去判断那些人，然后伤害那些人的心，那些人后来不来了。
And devotees become more and more afraid to reveal their weaknesses because they think people will judge them. And so this creates a situation where everybody becomes very isolated and very fragile, and it's not a solid situation.
这样的关系都是很表面的。那奉献那些人看到奉献者有一些是这么不成熟的态度，然后很冷漠的去判断另外一个人，去批评，去所谓拆后腿。然后呢，别人听到会越来越害怕，变成隔离，然后不敢来了，不敢跟奉献者讲话，后来就不来了。
That's why usually when we see a devotee that left and doesn't come back, if we usually go back and examine, we find out that probably that devotee didn't have a very close friend in Krishna consciousness.
所以有时候我们去回顾那一些奉献者，他们没有再来呢，基本上你可以去问他，比较深入去了解他，他事实上在奉献者团体里面没有比较好的朋友，就是他被忽视了。
Because even though we are on the spiritual path, we are not. We acknowledge that we have emotional needs, just like we have physical needs. We need to eat, we need to sleep, even though we're a devotee. So similarly, we have emotional needs as well.
所以呢，基本上我们所谓希望成为奉献者，可是就像我们身体有身体的需要，我们的感情上、情绪上有情绪上的需要要去照顾。
This is especially true for women and children.
那在情绪上的需要，一般特别是对女士跟孩子们。
And that's why in our society, if we don't create this space where this nice emotional exchange is going on, then devotees will usually become disturbed. And if somebody is disturbed, he cannot practice spiritual life very, very nicely.
所以在奉献者里面，必须要留有这种空间，就是说，在他感情上也需要一个空间。如果他受到困扰或受伤的话，他就很困扰，他就没有办法好好来做服务了。
So when Prabhupada said that he made a house in which the whole world can live, he was not speaking of a building, but of a culture of care.
所以他说的，他盖了一个房子给全世界人都可以住，基本上不是说房子的结构，而是说一个文化上的这种概念的照顾。
And when this non-judgmental atmosphere is created, doesn't mean that we don't discriminate. That doesn't mean that it just become like a hippie commune and there is no rules. But it means that it's no longer a condemning judgment, you know. Then we see that the community becomes much more tight, intimate, and then consequently these problems are much easier to deal with.
所以呢，在奉献者这个团体里面呢，不要有那种去批判别人这种态度。应该当然也是要有分辨，并不表示像嬉皮那样没有去分辨，但是你不能这样子恶意批评、冷酷的判断别人，因为要让这个奉献者的团体里面有这种所谓你去关心，给别人空间，让他们可以有建立这个坚固的关系，那整个这个所谓协会呢、团体呢，才有办法就是说变得很和谐、很充满了这个协和自然的情况。
That's why the acharyas, they stress this point again and again and again, that association of devotees is the topmost factor that will guarantee one's success in spiritual life.
所以呢，先前的这些灵性导师们一再的强调，在我们所有的情况里面，跟奉献者的联谊是最重要的因素，非常的强调这一点。
So associating with devotees means to exchange love with the devotees.
跟奉献者的联谊的意思就是跟奉献者以爱在交流的。
And this exchange of love is described by the acharyas to take 6 forms.
那爱的交流呢 ，Acharya 描述有6种形式在表达。
To offer gifts and accept gifts.
就是说你送礼物，还有接受礼物。
To give prasadam and to accept prasadam.
去送别人这个 prasada， 然后接受 prasada。
Everybody's favorite.
也是大家都喜欢的。
And then to reveal one's mind, or to listen to somebody who has the need to reveal his mind to you.
再来就是说，去怎么样恰当的表达自己的心意，而同时去聆听别人向你倾诉的心意。
Yeah, this is how we progress.
那这6项是我们要得到进步的这个6个支柱。
Any other questions?
有一个问题很矛盾，说吧。有女生被恐吓，或者是说来里面跟男生有上床，或者是说我有把柄在我手上恐吓你，让你在正庙里面 这样的，我们这种要不要反驳呢？然后他来就是说，Krishna 是假的啦，然后他还是继续来。
女的被恐吓，被谁恐吓？
被男的，
男的是里面，
男的在里
外面的。
面听课，说 Krishna 是假的、骗人的，然后我们都是用仁慈的心态不去反驳他，然后他跟那个女的有上床，然后威胁那个女的，就说我还要上谁呢？我还要跟谁上床就对了。
然后呢？
那你拿我怎么样？这样的意思。
你问说要怎么办？
像这种人，你说对他仁慈有用吗？他还是继续来啊，来找就是找把女人啊。
Okay. Maybe I'm saying someone. I don't know who. Yeah, one boy and one girl. The boy actually bring the boy get the girl into bed, you know, and have contact. And then the boy straighten the girl, saying, you know, God is false. God's not real. Straighten her. And then both of them keep coming to the temple. And the boy say, okay, now you are the one. There will be another girl. The next one, I will get it.
Okay, but now we're getting into specifics. We're not
She's
simple.
asking, and because Lord, you are merciful, should we allow this kind of people coming?
Well, okay. That is a very big topic. So yes, it's the fact that we are not judgmental doesn't mean that there is no discipline and there is no authority.
我们没有去恶意判断或是去评断这些事，并不表示我们不去分辨，也不是说我们没有所谓训练，没有规矩。我们不是没有规矩的。
You know, sometimes people need to be corrected.
有时候人需要被纠正。
But the Vaishnava correction is always taking in account also the person who is being corrected.
Vaishnava 的去纠正别人，总是要考虑到，就是说是什么样的人在纠正别人，还有被纠正的人是什么人。
We're not burning witches. We're not burning witches.
我们不是 witch。
Witch, you know, the Christian they used to burn the witch.
烧礼物了。
Witch hunt.
对，我想确定。
Witch hunt.
Because the connection hasn't heard, but the term I know in English I know.
Anyway, our point is not to throw people down in hell, you know, or something like that.
我们不是就是说那些女巫把人从火里面去烧死，因为英文字我懂，但是有时候这文化概念我要再确定一次。就是说有人就是说很邪恶，你只要做错，我都把你丢到火里面去烧，你应该下地狱，你应该怎么样判刑，不是这个意思。
Generally, we see that in society and in most of the world religion, when somebody is condemned, the whole point is to protect everybody else. The person who is being condemned, who cares? You know, you send somebody to jail to protect society, not because it's good for that person.
我们有时候看到世界上有这种现象，有人犯错的话，或是有一些宗教团体曾经这样，就说某人犯错的话，大家都指责丢石头啦，给他关起来，给他烧死啊，那不是说真正为了那个人真正的好处去纠正他、去提升，而是为了说不要去伤害其他的人，所以把这个人整个就说丢到极端的处罚里面去。
Yeah. So the Vaishnava principle of correcting or punishment is more like that of a mother correcting its child.
在 Vaishnava 你去纠正别人的这种心态，就比较像是一个亲爱的母亲在纠正她的孩子那样子。
So we have to be clever to find one way that somebody can be corrected at the same time that their spiritual life will be reinforced, not that we're pushing people away.
所以，当我们如果遇到那需要去纠正别人的时候，
Yeah,
不是说把那个人推下水，而是说让那个人可以在灵性上同时有所进步。Be quiet.
Yeah, we'll try to make it short. Yeah.
PC.
So this point, how to correct people. So you basically the principle is you try to make that to create a distance to protect that people from that thing which is giving him trouble, and to find some service for that person so she will become stronger. Okay. You know, see, if
就是说，如果你要纠正别人的话，就是说你的动机也是要保护那个人，让那个人可以得到纠正，而且其他人你要让他有点距离，就是不会受到干扰或受伤。
like, because if that person stop coming, how she will become purified?
假如一个人他被感觉受伤而不来的话，他怎么样有机会再得到净化？
She's not going to become better by stopping her service.
一个人不是说他停止了服务就可以变得更好。
But for example, if somebody is too much, all the time harassing the woman, then you make some rules that he can come, but he has to stay on that side.
那假如某一个男士一直在干扰女人的话呢，你就做一些规矩，让那个人可以跟女孩子隔绝，然后那个人如果还是说还规矩的话，也可以让他过来。
So you try to make some arrangement that he will not create trouble, but at the same time he will continue his service.
所以就做这个安排，让那个人不会制造麻烦，而且那个女孩子来还可以继续做服务。
People who make too much trouble, then maybe sometimes we have to find a way to engage them outside of the temples, or maybe they can come on a different day. They can come on Wednesday because they can disturb anybody.
那如果真的说制造太多的麻烦的人呢，就大家聚会的时候就可能没有让他来，让他在其他的时候来这样子。
But unless somebody does something very, very, very grave and very, then we're not really rejecting anybody. But if other devotees become endangered by that person, if somebody is violent or somebody can create harm to other devotees, then that also has to be into account, that the other devotees are protected from such person.
除非一个人就是真的是所以太过麻烦，就是制造出危险那种人，我们才真的要下出那种决定，就是说要保护大家，不让他来，除非是到那种极端的时候。
So we'll stop here so that everybody can. Oh, somebody wanted to say something? Quickly.
但是我现在想要继续讲这件事情，就是说，不只是那个男生到处乱讲话，他还牵动了另外一个很资深的奉献者，然后他也去恐吓那个女生。可是我们这个团体里面没有一个类似老师或班长可以说请他，因为我们就算我们只能说 OK 听到了，然后请他不要生气。
Well, anything like that generally has to be dealt with by devotees who are mature, because the danger of the kanista is that they will, usually deal these things roughly. So, because we cannot go here and go to every, 20-year of history of the Taipei temple. Who's this guy this, that guy this, and what should we do, and this and that, and if this, but if it's like this and like that.
There is no specific authority to make a point.
No, the authority doesn't know. So if there is such a thing, the authority should be inferred.
No, I just translate. I don't have opinion. I just translate what she just said, and she expressed there is no specific authority. And for me, I also don't know any information about this point.
Yeah.
So if there is a case like that, Krishna Baladev.
Yes, you can speak to Mukesh, to Sankirtan Prabhu, to whoever are the devotees who are little, and but all these things should be done with a lot of discretion, generally. And generally, we should not jump to conclusion, because sometimes rumors are not so true, and like that. So
Sometimes it goes more than the facts.
yeah. So the idea is to be cool-headed, and generally, the more mature the devotee, the better we'll be able to deal with this situation.
就是说找比较成熟的奉献者，因为有时候谣言
的话多过于事实本身，所以东传西传的话，变得自己都变相了，所以要找比较成熟的、可以信赖的奉献者去讨论，然后再决定。所以当奉献者听到别人讲什么闲言闲语或是谣言的时候，不要马上判断，因为有时候东听一面西听一面，真正发生事情的人完全是另外一回事。
So just one last thought that we have to remember this is the movement of Lord Chaitanya. So in this movement, mercy is more important than justice.
我们有一点很重要，我们这个是主Chaitanya的运动的组织，所以这个仁慈恩典胜过于所谓正义公理，仁慈高于正义公理。
So we should not be naive to think we're inviting the whole world to come, and everybody that will come will be squeaky clean, you know.
所以我们也不要那么天真，以为说我们热忱的请全世界人都来，然后认为每个人来都已经得到净化了。
So Prabhupada used to say temples are mental hospitals.
包括常常说，这庙就是一个人的精神病院，大家来治病的。
So at least we are patient undergoing therapy.
所以我们大家都是病人，在这个治疗的途径上。
So naturally, sometimes somebody may walk around thinking he's Napoleon Bonaparte. We have to tolerate.
所以有人如果刚进来，他认为他就是拿破仑，或者他认为他是爱因斯坦，我们就要说包容一下。
But if he's running around with a knife, then somebody has to do something.
但是假如进来是拿着刀子、枪进来，你就要小心了。
So that's why we cannot expect everybody to be, on the highest platform from the beginning.
所以我们也不能期望，就是说大家进来就已经是到就是最高阶段的这种纯洁的状态。
Yeah. So, and especially when all those things happen, we have to remember Krishna, that whatever we do should be for Krishna's pleasure.
就是不管发生什么事情，我们还是要记得，不管怎么样，我们所做的是要取悦 Krishna 的事。
Not just for a little sense of justice, I told them.
不是说我自己个人的所谓我的正义公理的判断，我告诉他应该怎么做，他怎么不去做。
I think the children are trying to tell us something.
我想小孩子想要告诉我们一些事情。
Krishna Maharaj is also eager for some prasara. So let us. Oh, yeah, what? I don't know. Sorry if I take too much of your time.
OK， 谁做 RT？ OK，
老贾，这是你的吗？这个里面有多少 G 呀？
Hare-Krishna, Hare